Right. Thanks for the introduction. So as autonomous driving systems gain more and more responsibilities in the future, drivers may not need to remain constantly vigilant of monitoring the driving task and may be allowed to perform other secondary tasks. However, it is still expected that the driver may need to take back control under certain situations. Therefore, it is important to understand how drivers who are engaged in secondary tasks behave after a transition of control from automation. In particular, we're interested in seeing how much time they need in order to regain control. So we propose to do this through a driver simulation study in which we can utilize a controlled and repeatable driving situation to evaluate and establish a worst-case benchmark for driving performance. And in previous work, we looked at secondary tasks such as having the driver monitor the car's driving and also a passive secondary task in the form of watching a video on a tablet. But for this study, we wanted to try something more demanding. So we gave them an active secondary task in the form of playing a game on a tablet. So I apologize for the video being a little cut off. It looked fine at the beginning. Yeah, thank you. All right. Right, so this is the course that we utilized in our study. So the control of the car alternated between the driver and the automation. So at the beginning, participants engage in a 5-minute manual practice section so that they can get acclimated to the simulator. Afterwards, they're asked to enable the automation and then perform the secondary tasks while the automation drives. After 10 minutes along a very uniform straight section of road, the car encounters a road hazard in the form of a curve that is lacking lane markings. There are two sets of pylons that bound the area that the car should stay in, with one set of pylons closing off the right lane, while another set of pylons denoting where the central divider would be. Participants experience a unstructured transition of control in which control of the vehicle is immediately returned to them 2, 5, or 8 seconds before the car enters the road hazard. At the point of transition, participants are given both an audio alert and also a visual alert on the instrument cluster. So here's an example of what the critical event looked like, and this participant experienced it for the sound decided to, okay. We'll do that one more time. Yeah. It should be. All right. But basically, they hear audio alert saying emergency automation off at that transition point. So this participant in particular did not do too well on the critical event. So for a study, we ran 30 participants with 10 participants in each transition time condition of 2, 5, and 8 seconds. For our performance measures, we used 2. The first was the standard deviation of road offset that was measured along the curve. So road offset is how far the car is away from the center of the lane. So with this measure, we wanted to see how steady the driving was. Initially, we ran ANOVA, but found that one of the distributions was non-normal, so we ran the more conservative Kruskal-Wallis rank sum tests. After post hoc analysis, we found that participants in the 2-second condition performed significantly worse than those in the 5-second condition and those in the 8-second condition. Our other metric was standardization of steering wheel position. Again, we found one of the distributions to be non-normal, so we again used the Kruskal-Wallis rank sum test and found the 2-second condition to be significantly worse than the 5-second condition and 8-second condition. We do see something interesting when we look at the last two figures you just saw and we compare them to our prior work that used more passive tasks. We see that in the prior works, performance appears to plateau at about 5 seconds with the participants in the 5-second condition and the 8-second condition performing equally well. But as you can see with the active secondary tasks, there is a trend where the participants in the 5-second condition are doing a little worse, but not significantly worse. So we believe with a higher N, we might see significant differences between those conditions as well. So in conclusion, we found that 2 seconds is definitely not enough time for people to effectively regain control of the vehicle after transition, and the minimum amount of time should be between 5 to 8 seconds. We also see when we compare it to the previous work that the 5-second condition may not be enough as it sees a degraded performance. And as for future work, we're interested in looking at how we can increase the performance of drivers after the transition, and mainly using different interfaces to do so. So with that work, actually, we've already run those studies and are in the process of writing it up. All right, thank you. So for both of our main performance metrics, we didn't see a significant difference between the 5 and 8, but it was trending to be worse. So the p-value was something like 0.1. So with a higher N, we might possibly see a significant difference.
Yeah, because, I mean, you could think about kind of like doing a gradual warning. Remo presented a paper yesterday on that, because I also noticed that the person was almost throwing away their tablet to have to kind of like touch the steering wheel. And you could imagine that, well, you start at 8 and maybe 5 is when they absolutely need to get the, or absolutely need to hold on to the steering wheel.
Yeah, so part of it was we wanted to really establish a worst case benchmark. So we didn't warn them ahead of time that the transition was coming. We didn't tell them how to actually disengage from the task. So we wanted to see how they would respond with a tablet in their hand, like how they would grab the steering wheel and that kind of thing. So it's more, like I said, being a kind of worst case benchmark, it allows us to say, ideally the vehicles should be designed like this, and instead of having like this sudden drop. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sinan Arkanach. I'm a master's student at UCL. I just wanted to ask what the software and hardware situation was for your driving simulator.
So we had a 6 projector setup. It was 270-degree cylindrical screen, and as for software, we used real-time technologies simulation software for our studies.
All right. Thank you.